Welcome to
I'm
Joe
nervous.
Blow. Who have we got in there today? Rhys,
Your
I'm going to struggle with this one. I've written down all these things. I'm going, the guy's just going to get a big fucking head. Like, this is not what I want to do. I want to really beat you down.
I just got this impending sense that this is a counselling session or something. It just
I think that they've all been counselling sessions so far. No,
yeah.
I've got here father, husband, reality TV winner, tragic blues supporter, successful businessman, surfer. And I'm like, oh, fuck, really?
There's a few more. Should have sent you a bit more on me previous, but that's okay.
No, I went on Wikipedia and there was a little bit on there. And then I was like, no, I feel like it's a cop out to have a podcast and interview a family member. It's like you're just doing episodes just so you can, this is episode 15 of Joe Blow, but I figure your story is quite interesting and I don't know a lot of it. And I just saw that you're on a podcast recently. I feel like there's a Rhys renaissance going on.
I don't know what a renaissance means. I mean, I know what it means, but I think I'm at a stage in my life, Tom, where I'm like finally accepting parts of myself I'd always shamed, and then I think there's some success as a result of that. But a lot of it's just been about allowing myself to work my way. But yeah, certainly hasn't been without plenty of failures, as you would know.
So, back in the day, I'm going to go off script here a little bit. Back in the day when you were doing all the fame and everything from the TV show, was there podcasts back then or anything like that? Was there social media?
No, and it was a while back. So it was 2008. At that time, Instagram didn't exist. I think Facebook was just gaining a bit of momentum. But no, there wasn't social media. And I do often think back and think, wow, how much more powerful would that have been to be able to leverage off social media in that time? But it wasn't there, and I've had to kind of build it up myself. And it is still a pretty important part of my business and my day-to-day work. But it certainly had to be a lot of my own legwork to build it up from a brand point of view.
Yeah, that's what I find amazing because I had a podcast before this and the lady's built a massive online business and I was saying, can you imagine she couldn't have done the business 20 years ago or even 10 years ago?
Yeah. I have
Like,
such a love-hate relationship with social media too, and you're probably the same, mate. Like, I think on one hand, I love telling stories, and I do think that's a powerful medium. And I think even with what you do with your brokering, like you tell a story and you get people invested in you and your brand and how you live. And I think sales 101, you're selling the brand before you're selling the product. So I think I see how important that is, but sometimes I really can't be fucked getting on social media and telling a story. And I have to keep going back to the well and working out my why am I doing this, and if I'm not believing it, it's not going to come across. So I think for me personally, I find authentic storytelling very powerful, but it has to be real, and sometimes it doesn't feel it.
no, I know, and I get that totally. I mean, I hate looking back at my stuff, and my stuff's very different in the finance space. And there are times at the moment where I'm going, I'm in the finance world. Is this too fucking edgy? I'm in a t-shirt with tattoos, and I'm about to go onto some billboards around Queensland, and I think, and I'm sort of even worried about the tattoos or how edgy the ad is and all that sort of stuff because of the boring industry I'm in. And I rewatch stuff, and I just go, oh, it's just so cringeworthy. But it's much like that. That's what I believe in and I like. So
Yeah, and the cringe comes because no one else has done it before you in that sense. So you don't know how it's going to be received. But I think it's that unknowing, that not knowing, and even that vulnerability that actually creates the power in it. It's like jumping into something and not knowing how it's going to be allows a real story for people to jump onto and invest in.
oh, look, I totally agree. Like I think fucking sheds are boring, and then I watch your videos, and I'm actually quite captivated by it. And I'm actually quite interested in the story. And sometimes, you know what, I get the shits because you don't show the end of the story, and I get so enthralled in it. I think, well, what happened to that fucking build in the Gold Coast? It was like, we're doing this and we're doing that, and I wanted to see the end of it, but I never got to see the end of it. And it's interesting because I was listening to a podcast of Stephen Bartlett, and he was saying, at this point in time now, everyone wants real because you've got Chat GBT and fucking filters and AI and everything like that. Everything is becoming quite fake and boring, and people want to see Rhys make mistakes, and here he is at the building site, and they don't want to read all that, boring stuff. They want real at the moment.
Yeah, it's such a strange one. The whole, so I've got a company called Shed House Australia, and I'm not a builder. I'm not an architect. I'm not an engineer. I've got no right to be in the construction industry, like zero. You know this, Tom. I couldn't build a chicken coop, and I couldn't build anything to save my life. But I can tell a story, and I can also conceptualize and visualize and create stuff. So I've had so much imposter syndrome coming into this, and I still do today, even though we've got a national company now. But I think I'm learning to just like lean in my strengths. My strength is storytelling, and it's probably also being able to conceptualize a big concept and then articulate it in steps so people can understand it in a way that the average Joe Blow like yourself can understand it. So I think,
Joe Blow, well done, mate.
thank you,
That's
mate.
that's
Yeah, I
really
know.
clever.
I know. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think it's even hearing you say that you were invested in that story we shared on the Gold Coast. It's really actually I don't get that feedback, so I'm like you. I'm like shit. What did I just? And I can't watch my stories back. I'm like I'm such a flog. Like why?
Oh,
Why do I think I'm funny? Why do I? But you're right. It's the warts and all approach that you'll hit and miss, but it gets people invested because no one's perfect, and the hardest thing for me without waffling on is like this whole company was based upon me having a crack and making mistakes. But now I've got to find that middle ground of like, no, we can't make mistakes as much anymore. We've
no.
got to be professional. We've got to nail it. But we also still can't lose the authenticity of bringing them on for the ride, which does include growth and does include mistakes. So it's a tricky one it's easy to win people over with authenticity. It's then hard to turn that into a monetized business and not lose them because maybe tall poppy or when people see something going well, they lose interest.
Yeah, and I guess it's also to do with this has become a business podcast now. It's also to do with like it's interesting you say because every now and then people will say to me, even about this podcast, where was I? Can't remember who I was talking to, but they said to me, I can't even remember. My brain's gone. I'm too old. But someone said to me, "Mate, I'm loving the podcast." Oh no, I was at a broker function, and this guy came up to me that ran the broker function. They had 300 people, and I did a talk on men's mental health. That was interesting. A few tears in that, as you do. And this guy came up and he said, "Mate, I'm loving the podcast," and I was like, I'm just doing it
Yeah.
and throwing it out there. It's just something I've always wanted to do, and I'm really enjoying it. But I do get podcast hangover, and I find it. I'll finish the podcast and I'm just wrecked for hours. But it's
Yeah.
interesting, like we don't give feedback to anyone. When's the last time you said to someone, "Mate, I love that reel," or "I love your business
I know.
idea," or we
I
just
know.
don't do it. We don't
I
care.
thought this. I thought this yesterday. Someone reposted one of my stories about a shed house I'm doing with my family, and I was like, "God, we don't do that enough." Like that meant so much to me because, and even you with your podcast, it's a part of you. That podcast is a direct reflection of a part of you. So when someone gives you positive affirmation on that positive affirmation is you and your creative outlet. And it's like, as humans, we want to put ourselves out into the world and we want to show our creative, what our input is to the world. So to get some positive feedback on that just means everything. I think it's what we're here for, to just tell our story and show who we are in whatever form that is. Mine happens to be bloody sheds at the moment.
Yeah, which is interesting. It's a great little segue back to your life because let's not talk about me, even though I want to. Did you?
Just quickly, I just want to say one thing, and we obviously I'm Tom's fifth illegitimate child, but we don't. No, I'm not. We're brothers, but we banter a lot. We don't give each other a lot of positive feedback, like I just said. But I think one of the things people always admire about me, or if anyone admires anything about me, that the only thing they say is usually that I have a crack at things and I jump into things like Shed House, like other projects that I do. But I feel like I get a lot of that from you. I think that I do sit back and admire that you won't spend too much time thinking. You might behind the scenes, but visually, outwardly, you don't look like you overthink it. You just jump in and do it. This podcast is something, and I listen to it. Like I listen to it because you just put it out there. So
Hmm.
thank you for that. That's the only compliment I'll ever give you.
No, that's great. Go the Pies. Great win last night. Top of the table, six
No
points.
humility. No
And
humility. Never again.
no. Look, and I think that's where we're very similar in terms of we're just
Not good,
lost souls having a crack at everything. And
mate.
but that's what I wanted to
Speak for
get back
yourself.
to. How the fuck? I've never asked you this question. You know when you were a young kid, I remember when you were a young kid and I'd be at Phillip Island, you'd look after me like I was fucking like a god. No, I'm joking. No, you would, and I
It's
just,
true.
how did
Yeah.
you, oh, you're all clear now. Fuck, you look old. Your fixture's just gone clear. It was really blurry. Though, I've always wanted to ask you this. How did you become a school teacher? I just can't
Yeah.
see you in a, I mean, I can't see you building sheds either, but I can't see you in a
No,
classroom.
no.
Mr. Evan, they called you or something.
They did. They couldn't pronounce our last name, Ulick, or they made a sexual connotation of it. Ulick, it can go anywhere. Um, so I had to step away from that. But I don't know, mate. I did arts after year 12, which is like anyone that doesn't know what they want to do. It's a creative. It's like I got no fucking idea. I'll just do arts. And then one of the natural progressions of doing arts, you could do a year diploma of education. So I think it was just I fell into it, mate. But in that time, I realized two things: how much I love kids, and I
Oh,
mean that.
shit.
Yeah.
I'll have to cut the podcast right now. Okay. Thank you. Episode 14 is now over. Thank you, Rhys Ulick. Not related to me.
I mean, I love
That's going to be the short. That's going to be the short for this podcast. I just want to say how much I love kids.
in this day and
Oh,
age, it's the
fuck.
worst thing. It's the
You
worst
just
thing you
wanted
can
me
say.
cancelled. You might take that shed t-shirt off too.
So I did my diploma of education with P Diddy, and we really, no, I love that kids see right through you. You would agree with this. You cannot
Yeah.
bullshit in front of kids. So I loved that, and I think I jumped into that because I actually felt more comfortable in front of a classroom of 5-year-olds than I did in front of adults, and I think. I just something in me wanted to jump into that and then learn how to communicate. And I think that sounds really selfish because I'm meant to be going and teaching the kids, but it was really a learning for me as well in how to hold myself in a room and be authentic because they will call bullshit from a mile away. And I actually think that's held me in good stead down the track in terms of authentically communicating brands, whatever brands I've done over the years, from a t-shirt label to a shed house company.
I forgot about
Doesn't matter.
Tavita.
It's the same message. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like I used to have a fashion label called Tavita, which you wore a lot. Now I
Mm.
sell shed houses worth up to $1 million, but it's the same thing. It's the same whether it's a $30 t-shirt or $1 million property. You're selling the story. You're selling the brand. People are getting invested into the story. They're spending $30 on the t-shirt to be part of it, or they're spending 300 grand to $1 million on the house to be part of the brand. And it's the brand and the story that is the value add. You've still got to execute the product clearly, but the brand is what gets people in the door.
So what about Rhys at sort of 14, 15? What did he want to do? I can't remember.
Um,
Did you want to be,
yeah,
was it tennis player? I mean, you weren't as good as Alex at tennis, but was it
yeah,
tennis or what did you want at that,
yeah. I,
at that
I
age?
really, I think I wanted to be a veterinary scientist or vet, but I realised I didn't quite have the mental capacity. So it was probably that, and then really, I think for a while I was happy teaching. But it's funny, mate. Like even when I was teaching, I had this deep sense that that wasn't all I was going to do. Not that teaching wasn't enough, but I was like, nah, like I'm meant to do more in this world. So I think I just was searching until I found the role I felt comfortable in, which for a while was modeling, and then moved into fashion and television, and now is it's shed building, which my ego really struggles to say that. I hate being known as a shed guy. It's the last thing I want to do. I'm meant to be in Hollywood, as you know. Like we both are.
This is the conversation I was hoping you would bring up because I feel like
You,
we don't talk that often, but when we do talk on the phone, we both have this, and I call it arrogance now. I used to think the universe. I tell people, and I'm a lot older than you, so I feel like more of an imposter now because I'm like. I keep thinking I'm on this earth to do something bigger and better, and what am I here for? And that's why I started the podcast because the universe pushed me towards that, and essentially I run a mortgage broking business. I'm in finance and I do a podcast on the side. I keep fit and I'm pretty much average Joe Blow, but I do feel like you, and I call it just this arrogance in this Austrian blood that we have that we're like, we're here for something bigger and better. Something's going to happen. And I'm in finance doing home loans, let's face it, and you're
and I'm
building
building shit out
sheds.
of it.
And
Mm.
like,
And I agree, mate. But I think the thing that yeah, I mean, it probably is arrogance or a knowing, but we all have that knowing. But we just put this our ego or our mind puts this vision on what it needs to look like, and that's probably why I went to Hollywood, because I'm like, well, what I'm feeling feels like it has to be written in the stars, you know. So, but I think what I've always felt I'm meant to be doing is probably what I'm doing right now, which is potentially creating a really great company that can help people get into houses. But my ego wanted to be something so much bigger. So we all have something great to do in this life. Otherwise, why the fuck are we here? Like, just to exist and die? I think we all have a gift to leave. Maybe us Ulix glorify that story in our minds, but that's our mind. But it doesn't take away from the fact that there is something unique we all need to share, you know. And I think you're right. I think my ego's had to get used to the fact that it is just building bloody shed houses. But whatever,
But you know
I'm
what?
okay with it.
I actually thought about this the other day, and I went, maybe what we're doing and the way we do it and the way we show up and the videos we do, and maybe our thing is somehow helping our kids or one of our kids' friends, or maybe someone watches
Yeah,
something you
and that's
do.
enough.
Maybe
That's
their
enough,
life
isn't it?
changes. Maybe you never know about,
Yeah.
what you're doing, or
Well, maybe we just got our zeros mixed up. We thought we are going to influence a million people, but it's actually just 10. But that's okay. You know, I think it's just as powerful with the ripple effect. And I don't know, mate. Like, why do we want? As humans, but also us as brothers, why do we want that so much? Why do we need to be seen? Why do we need to leave an influence? I don't know. Or maybe it's just a human instinct to want to make a difference. You know, a positive difference, or maybe it's just purely ego and you just want to be seen. I don't know. I don't know.
well, we both run self-employed businesses, and we always really have. Apart from you being a school teacher, and back in the day,
That
I
was
was
for
an
a year.
accountant. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
take me back to, and you've probably told this story 1,000 times, but when you first, you're Mr. Evans school teacher who loves kids in cubicle 2, and
Mr.
then
Euling, who loves kids.
and then you go on the reality TV show, right? And obviously I've done a bit of reality TV myself. But no, let's talk about you. So when you're doing the reality TV, are you finally thinking to yourself, "Hey, this
This is
is my
it.
fucking calling. I'm going to be like Chris Hemsworth. I'm going to be." Were you just enjoying the ride when you're on television, and because you were funny as fuck on there? Um,
It's so funny when I remember looking back and I came off that show and the first thing you said, you're like, geez, you're funny. I'm like, yeah, well, you got to get to know your little brother, mate, you arrogant bastard.
you had one
But
good
yeah, I
line.
think
That was it.
to, to answer your question, I reckon there was a part of me that was like, yeah, wow, this could be anything. But I remember during that process, we were locked in a house very much like Big Brother. And I think you get to know your own self saboteur and your own mental state so clearly when there's no distractions. So I did think all emotions. I thought this could be it. I also thought I'm pathetic. I also thought I'll fuck this up. I also thought all these emotions, which were really clear because I had no phones, no one to mirror off. So I thought everything. I remember having counseling or a psychologist come in because I was losing it, mate. I was like, my real self saboteur come up. I don't know how I won it. I just kept. I think with me in life, what I've realized that I'll get really close to success, and then I'll pull the threads from under it and fuck it up because it's easier to come from the trenches and
Mm,
as an underdog because everyone loves the underdog. But when I'm up here, I'm like, oh, people won't like me. So I'll
yeah.
fuck it up again. And I kept doing that in the show. I remember I kept like winning a week and then fucking up. And I was like, I'm creating that.
Mm.
I'm doing that because I'm too scared to win. So I think the growth I got from that in my own like, oh, I can control my own mind was really powerful. And yeah, there's an element of me that wanted to become a Hollywood star and still is, still is, if I'm honest.
Give it up, mate.
Not yet, not yet.
Give it up, mate. So, when you won the show, though, I remember going down to Melbourne after you'd won the show, and it was just phenomenal being in restaurants
Yeah,
and bars
first
and
time he
everyone.
won the TV in about 10 years. Really, he hadn't
Oh
won
God,
another.
I got a cramp. Ah, um, no, I remember going to the show and all that, and no, after the show, and just you were like a celebrity. Everyone was coming up and talking to you, and um, it was pretty phenomenal. Do you remember? Do you think back to that and just do you remember how big it was?
It was real flash in the pan. It probably lasted a year, but it was really powerful. I think as I was the first bloke to ever win a modelling show, I guess, and it was pretty well watched. So I do remember it, and I do remember like every footy player and everyone that I knew and admired seemed to know me, and that was really incredible. But I didn't bloody enjoy it because I was always thinking, "What next? Oh, I'm not there yet. What next?" So not one moment in that first year or so when there was like a lot of momentum, a lot of opportunities, did I actually revel in it. I kept looking about for what was next and kept bringing myself down. And that's my biggest regret. I think that I just didn't enjoy that time for what it was. It didn't have to be anything else. I don't know if you had the
Mm.
same experience with your thing. I needed it to mean something. I needed it to get me somewhere instead of just going, this is awesome. This is just an experience that not many people get to live. I should just enjoy it. And I didn't.
Do you? Because I mean, I think you're a totally different guy now than you were back then. You put this
Yeah.
head. You put this head back, or you
Yeah, I
can't
know.
put this head back then. You wouldn't have won it. But if you put your mind now that you've got back then, do you reckon it would have been different?
Yeah, I would have really reveled in it, but also known which opportunities to take and not being led down stupid garden paths that stroked my ego. But that's just wasn't meant to be, mate, was it?
Do you reckon?
Yeah,
Do
nah,
you reckon you had the right sort of people around you, mentors and stuff like
no,
that, or did you
no.
just run it by yourself?
Yeah, I just ran it by myself, and I think a mentor. I've never had a mentor, but I think a mentor or someone that's been there and done it would have been incredibly valuable.
Like a
Yeah,
proper manager?
I don't. Yeah, maybe a manager or just someone that can see through the bullshit. And yeah, I mean, you think of how many people come off reality TV, and 0.01% of them actually make anything of it. So
Mm.
there's a reality of that it just probably won't lead anywhere. But also, I think you've got to make smart decisions when you're in that really hot space where you actually have value. I don't think I did, but that's okay. I think since then I've done all right in rebuilding what it is that I stand for. But yeah, I didn't ever make it in the industry that I at the time really wanted to. And ironically, mate, the girl that came runner up, her name is Shanina Sheikh, and she's now a Victoria's Secret model and a bona fide supermodel. So, did I really win? Nah, she did, but it was fun while it lasted.
Second always seems to do better.
Yeah, I know.
But you didn't ask Dad for any advice, or
Uh I have about marriage and I have. I've asked Dad for advice through the years, and it's funny. You might be the same. As Dad gets older, he's sharing a lot more, so he wants
yeah.
to tell his story. I think when we were younger, you're still working through your own story in your own heart and your own mind, and then when you're older, you start articulating it. Might not make a lot of sense, but like I'm finding him, and you might be the same, wanting to tell his story right now. I think at the time, no, didn't get a lot because he was still processing his story.
Do you remember when Dad and Di broke up?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, that was a core memory for me.
Is
Yeah,
it?
it's
That sits in there?
yeah. Yeah, and I was 16 and this is this is not to make either of them feel bad, but like so many kids go through a breakup. You did as well. You take it on as it's your fault, So I
Mm.
think it was you have certain moments in your life that you can look, they change the course of your life and the way you make decisions, the way you enter relationships, the worth you have on yourself. So many kids go through it. I was just another one of them.
Mm. Is that why you think you've sort of held your relationship together?
Yeah,
You didn't
probably.
want to become a stat, or
I probably have a stupidly patient and supportive wife, which is number one. Like she just supports anything that I do, Claire. But yeah, I think there's probably an element of like
at least you got the name right.
wanting to be the only Ulick man that sticks with the one partner.
Forever.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Do you have a childhood memory that you said that, when Di and Dad broke up,
Yeah.
that sort of stayed in. Do you have a childhood memory? Like if you look back now to your childhood, do you have that one memory? I know you don't have a Carlton Premiership memory, but do you have that one memory that sort of sticks with you as a kid?
Whether positive or negative.
Well, give me a positive, please.
I
Keep
think
it
it's
upbeat.
just I think it's just and I look back now and it's like I think it's just the joy and the wonder that I had in the world. Like I remember, like any kid, like being outside. I remember playing in a pond with a whole lot of tadpoles, and I just remember like having this wonder and like incredible, um, in awe of what the world is, and then also like what I could create in the world. And I think I remember feeling that then, and then life hits you, and then marriage breakups, and then pressure of school, and you start to lose that wonder. But
Mm,
now that I'm building this business with Shed House with our my business partners, like I'm trying to re-engage with that wonder that that little kid had back then. And I think as adults, we always just try and go back to that. It's a bit Benjamin Button, isn't it? It's like
mm,
we realize that innocence and that wonder and that belief in the world is actually all that matters, but it just gets conditioned out of us, and then we try and recondition back into it as we get older.
Mm. And are you very similar to Di or Dad? Like, are you a 50-50, or do you reckon you're a total different person to them two?
I'm probably yeah. I'm a bit of those two, and I'm also a bit of my grandmother Elsie, who's passed now. But I I feel like I've got a bit of her outlook to the world. And I'm also got, what have I got from Dad? I've got like I've I've probably got that self assurance from Dad. You know, I can do it. I can do. I'll figure it out. I'm not a perfectionist like Dad. I'm the opposite.
Mm.
And then Mum probably that fastidious, hard working approach. That Mum just never gives up and keeps working too hard. Really, so hard working from Mum, self belief from Dad, and then potentially like the way I see the world and the humanity side of the world is from my grandmother Elsie.
That's interesting because I
Mm,
think obviously we come from the same father, and
mm.
I've had this real, I can't even say the word, epiphany.
Epiphany.
Yeah, it sort of hit me that um, I feel like I'm from my mum and dad. I'm like, if I think of, I had this mental health talk, and I was talking about how, obviously we've got a grandfather that was in the Air Force for Hitler and was like second in charge, and, apparently met Hitler, and he was a real hard bastard. And, Dad used to say how he used to beat, his mum up and almost beat her to death, apparently. And then, obviously Dad's a very hard man. And, I don't know about you, but I've never said I love you to him, and he's never said it to me.
Yeah, it's rare. It's rare with Dad for sure. I'm trying to remember as well. I mean, it's not a common occurrence at all.
And it's like, yeah, and
But
I was, what I was saying was, I feel like I'm the generation that had to change. Otherwise, what chances did I have? I got almost a Nazi grandfather and a father that's very hard, and he's just, they're the tools he's got from his grandfather.
yeah, it's funny.
And
No, I
and
know.
I've really tried hard to, and I'm not saying tried hard not to be like my father, more so
To make
because I've
improvement.
I've got to change that generation, and I've tried hard with my kids to say I love you and be, Emerson's a
Mhm.
really affectionate guy, and I've tried to be that one different. Do you think you've done similar?
I think so. I think so. I think also now that we're both finding out a lot more about our grandfather, who was, I think, an incredibly hard man, and potentially not all good. And
Hmm.
Dad's sharing more and more about what he was like. Maybe Dad made some small improvements from what he saw, because I mean, Dad's not the violent person that his grandfather was. So I think we all make the improvements that we can. Well, we all try to, but I can definitely see that with you and how close you are with your kids, and that might be from what you potentially lacked at points as a child and going line in the sand, I won't do that. But there's no reason our dad might have done something similar with like, I won't be violent or whatever. So we all make improvements through the line. Some make bigger ones than others. But yeah, I certainly try and fill the voids that I didn't get as a child with my own
Hmm.
kids, but I don't try and do it and then place any like, like need them to accept it, or if you know what I mean. Like
Hmm.
I need to do it for my own reasons and not be like, oh well, I'm doing this because my dad didn't, so you should be grateful. It's like I need to like want to make those changes for me. And
Yeah,
and
yeah, I
and
know. I totally agree. I know
mm,
because I was only at that mental health thing. I was talking, and I was like, my dad never ever came to any of my sporting events,
mm,
nothing from my school. Like, I pretty much didn't really see him during that time. Whereas I flipped it and I said, no matter what I did, I've never missed Emerson or Chloe's school events or sporting events. Like, I've gone to every single one. Like,
yeah.
almost completely reversed it.
And I think the hard thing for us to accept too is that like our kids might do the same when they're older. Like there'll be deficiencies that we both clearly have. They'll be like, "Well, my dad did this, and my dad did this, and I will never do that." And I think that's evolution, and that's growth, and that's breaking family karmic cycles. But I think, yeah, and I see how good of a dad you are as well. So I think we just do what we can with the information that we've got and try and make those changes along the way.
Well, you're not. You're still at that great stage. They want to hang out with you. My kids do, but it's interesting when they become adults and and I had the same. I mean, I was only thinking. I went to London for 8 years and I saw my mum once.
Yeah. Wow.
Unbelievable. I would die if I only saw my kids once in 8 years. But now it's
Yeah.
I've always got to make an effort with the kids to go and see them. That's what they end up becoming They become adults like we all did, and we don't want to hang out with our parents.
Well, that's it. And I do notice, without this making this all about you, but I do notice you do it on their terms, and I think you have to at that age. You have to like meet them where they are. You can't just expect them to want to come and hang with you. And I think a lot of the older generation did. They're like, well, if you're not coming to me, I've got no time. Like, well, you're retired. Like, a lot of our parents, they have the time. You got to meet the kids where they are. And your kids are at that age where like they need you to be where they are. You not the other way around. So that's an important thing that I think we've changed.
Do you reckon you're a good husband, Rhys Ulick?
No, I reckon I've got a lot of work to do there. In terms of like, I'm a good provider. I create shelters and I create surety and security, but I don't show up emotionally enough. I think because I think, and maybe this is like what's bred into us or me. I think like by providing shelter and security, that's enough. But as you know, women want like more than that. They want that emotional security, and if I'm not there emotionally and like actually present, I think it hurts the family. So I'm trying to find that balance because I have 95 different projects going on at any one time, but that doesn't mean that's me fulfilling my full father duty.
Mm.
That's hard for me to accept too, because I always bite back at that when it's questioned. I'm like, "Well, what? I'm building this house. I built a house in Bali, and we've got this." And I'm like, "Oh fuck, that's not everything, Reese.
Yeah,
That's
I
that's
know.
that's
Look,
a bit selfish, really. It's
and
me
you know
doing it for
what?
me."
We've had this discussion, and women are very different to men. I still think, we're always about driven and do this, and we want to do that. And I've got to provide that, and I've got to build this and do that, and sometimes women are just like, can we go on a date?
Yeah, that's
What do you mean a
enough.
date? We've been married for 20 years.
Mm.
Can we just, you and I go to dinner? And it's like, oh, sometimes it's that easy for them.
Yeah,
That's what they
but
want.
it hits me like a slap in the face because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm on a different wavelength. When I'm in like manic creation mode, it almost feel like, oh fuck, I haven't got time for that. I'm building a house, But you're right. That's what my wife Claire wants, and I need to get. I'm trying to get better at that.
So take me back to Tavita.
Yeah. Okay. So, oh, um, I think off the back of that modeling show, I'd spent 5, 6 years modeling full time and felt like it was super unfulfilling in terms of I couldn't leave a piece of myself on the table after every job. I was just a mannequin or a face of. I actually couldn't leave who I was. So I think starting the fashion label Tavita was me like putting a piece of myself out into the world, much like what you're doing with this. But so that was my first probably like foray into creating from who I am and putting it out to the world. And that was a Bohemian t-shirt label, which was everything that I was in terms of I was a surfer. I had fashion understanding. So I was creating that boho fashion label and started that out of Bali, which was like a second home for me. And mate, it launched in 2012. And I think by 2013, we were one of the bigger fashion labels for men in the country. We were stocked in
Mm.
100 stores around the country. So it really like it shocked me, but also showed me that oh man, I can create brands. Like I can see what people want before they want it, and then I know how to tell the story of getting it out there. Not that it set the world alight, but it really like it did well for a few years, and then I killed it with my own self saboteur. So that's basically how that went. We had a few stores in Melbourne, a couple in Bali, and then I think I tried to over control it. I didn't let anyone else in. It was my
Mm.
baby, and then in doing that, I strangled it to death.
So what
That
do you
sounds a
mean?
bit.
Did you design it all?
Yeah, I designed everything. Sometimes I lean on a graphic designer to help with a logo, but
Mm.
I designed everything, and I usually do. This is like very specific to who I am, but I'd usually design within like mistakes would become a fashion statement. So I
Mm.
wouldn't be so rigid in the way I design. So because it was made out of barley, you never know what you're going to get. So if old Made or Katut in the factory floor had accidentally ripped the collar, I'd be like, perfect. And that'd end up being the statement piece of that year's collection. So that fluidity, I think, was part of my creative process, and it's the same now with our house building. Like, it's a hard one to do because you need some form of surety, but I never want to fully resolve something when I go into it. So, yeah, it was certainly a very fluid approach, and it made this authentic handmade feel, which you used to wear it a bit, but yeah,
It was
it was a
great.
real
Not just after one wash, it wasn't great, but it was great before
no, it was
washing it.
terrible.
Yeah.
Mm.
Once. So, do you feel that you were quite a cooler guy back then of Tavita than you are with the shed? The
Yeah,
brands the brands are very different and the products very
yeah.
different.
It's a lot more challenging now to sell myself through this company, but this is the thing. It's not about me. It's about the company and it's about Shed House. And don't worry, I still try and get myself in front of camera, as you can see. But um, yeah, it's made me, it's been really quite cathartic because spending years as a model and then doing some TV and then modeling my own fashion label, of course I'm going to have an inflated ego. So
Mm.
I've had to remove that slowly, and I'm not quite there yet, as you tell me every day, but I'm getting there.
So what? How did you self sabotage the fashion business?
I think I had offers to buy in when it was really flying by a couple of really successful companies, and I just didn't let it. I didn't let them in. I thought I could do it myself. So, and then I ended up. I'm great at creating brands. I'm terrible at running them. I'm terrible at forecasting. I'm terrible at knowing money in, money out. I
Mm.
just constantly lost money on every collection. So eventually I went under. Really, 2019. So I think it was about 7 years. And then I just gave up.
So how did you feel? Sort of, I guess, in your words, going under. Is it like a failure? Were you like? Did you go through
Yeah,
any stage of like depression or just like this is it for me? Or did you? How did you bounce back?
I think I dealt with the shame about a year before we closed, so I could feel it impending. And do you know what? I'm such a storyteller. I even tried to find a story around that, like while we were closing. So that's probably just a bit of pride. And then off the back of it closing, I moved to Los Angeles chasing the acting dream. So potentially I was just running from my own shame.
So you did the Tavita, and then that sort of all went. And obviously, I don't have time for that. I've got to go to Hollywood and follow that dream.
That was my story in my head, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, but you need to. So, do you reckon you haven't really let that sink in? That sort of failure in your eyes. It was just you've told that story so often to yourself.
um,
Don't cry, mate.
no, no, maybe. Yeah, maybe. I think so. I think. Or do you look at it that way? Yes, that potentially I've never accepted the failure, or I've actually just flipped it onto like that's incredible growth because like what I learned in those 7 years has actually put me in good stead to then starting Shed House. So I'm probably more of the belief that everything is part of that rung on the ladder, and you just keep taking those tools to the next job.
So
Oh, I
the
don't
whole
mind that.
school, the school teacher, the model
Yeah.
show, the Davita brand, Hollywood, New York, Shed
Hmm.
House. That was the plan.
Yeah. No, no, no. That hurts.
No, but that's so. When I love it, I love it all. But take me also to Shed House. So you built your shed house at Phillip Island.
Mm. Yeah, and I've
Where did
shared the
that come
story.
from, though?
Yeah, well, necessity, and this is probably goes back to my point about like you learn from all of those journeys. I came home from Hollywood in 2019, fully failed in terms of I'd blown about 200 grand. Um,
Fuck, really?
yeah, so we sold our house on Phillip Island. We had
Mm.
about, I think, we had 400 grand or something in the account. Like, cool, we're going to Hollywood. To put it, we bought some land before we left, quite cheaply off my mother. And who, thank you for looking after me as always. But yeah, so we bought some land and then took 300 grand to Hollywood. I think in about 18 months, we had 100 grand left. So it was like, I just I got a couple little jobs, but it seemed like every door I went to, like I'd almost open, then it would slam shut in my face. So my wife and kids left after about 12 months. I stubbornly like, nah, I'm staying here till I get there. And then eventually, I just had to make that decision that like I'm actually really costing my family here. The story I told myself, and I go back to stories here, is that like I'd had this Hollywood dream for so long, and maybe it looks selfish that I've dragged my family over there. Maybe it does, but my thought was like, if I sit here and blame being having kids or blame being a dad for never chasing that dream, I don't know if that's a good thing for a father to do either. So I wanted to lead by example and go, this is my dream. You're coming. We're going to go and do it together and make an adventure of it. It didn't work out. Came back to Australia, 100 grand left in the account, had the land. Thought, well, what can I build for 100 grand? I couldn't get a mortgage because I hadn't had a job, as you know, for like years. So through necessity, I built a shed house that led to what we have today. So I I do believe that it all is part of that journey. It's just my ego has to get out of the way and accept that journey.
Well, you've still got more to come. So when you're in
Uh,
Hollywood and you're blowing all that money, are you really giving it everything? Do you look back and go,
Uh,
I gave it everything, or you were a little
no,
bit slack, or you were not as driven? Like, were you going
yeah,
to all the auditions? Were you fucking doing courses? Did you smash yourself over there or not?
no. I did courses, I did all of that. I went to auditions, but I didn't give it everything, mate. Like I had the unfortunate coincidence of growing up on Phillip Island with Chris and Liam Hemsworth. So I think there was a part of me that thought, oh well, if I just go over, I look like a Temu version of Chris Hemsworth. Like surely I'll get a job or two. And I probably thought it would just come to me. I'd just done Neighbours in Australia. I think I'd done 6 months on Neighbours, and that felt like, oh, the rest, everything's in that recipe pot. I can now go to LA. It's a fait accompli. So no, I expected it to happen. I definitely did work, but not as no. That's another regret of mine. I didn't turn every stone over, whatever the bloody term
So
is.
what would you do different though if you go over
I'd
now?
I'd just be unrelenting. I'd knock on every door and I'd put myself to in front of every person that I thought mattered. I thought they'd come to me, and I thought if it was meant to be, that it would find me. Maybe there's an element of that, but I don't think I showed up as much as I could have.
Hmm.
No one does you any favors over there, mate. Like, oh my
Oh,
god,
look,
like I had to.
you hear the stories. There's 10,000 people and five
Yeah,
make it, and the five that make it. I mean, look, in reality, you know what? You could have made it, but you could have made it now.
yeah,
You
but I could have made it at the expense of my family. I
you'd
could have
been a
made it,
single guy.
yeah,
You'd be with some little Thai wife, and that and your kids would hate you. Um,
yeah.
so you build the shed house, and that gets a bit of publicity, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I built the shed house again through necessity. 100 grand, had nothing to spend really for what a house costs these days. This was in 2019. So before COVID hit, prices were cheaper to build, but still 100 grand's nothing. I shared it on socials, probably partly ego, still get myself in front of camera, but also like I had this thought, I was like, this is kind of cool. This could be anything. This could fail. And I think we go back to the point we made earlier on. Like you have to start sharing before you know how it's going to be. Yeah, you can't share a fully resolved product. You can, but you will get no cut through. So I think it was
Hmm.
like sharing this story and genuinely not knowing if I was going to blow all this money on building a piece of shite for my family. So it actually gathered momentum because COVID had hit, people were at home, people had nothing to do. Something about the shed symbolized the breaking away of the system. And
Hmm.
for a small amount of people that were watching it. So the shed became this conduit to a greater story. I then got on the cover of Domain Real Estate magazine, which for me was like, what the hell? I'm not a builder. Like, how did I get this? And I think when that happened, mate, that was line in the sand. I was like, well, this could be something. It was never meant to be anything but a family home. But when I got that national attention, I was like, well, if I don't do this, someone else will. And it was probably that
Hmm.
mindset of maybe like that competitive mindset that I jumped into it. And then I spent the last 5 years trying to work out how the hell I'm going to do it. And, you know, it's taken that long to actually get to this point of like realizing, yeah, we could be a successful national company doing good things in the housing industry.
So what when you left Hollywood, I'd love to hear this story because you probably told yourself the story. So you've blown all this money in Hollywood, your tail between your legs, you're coming back to Australia. What are you going to do? Are you sitting on the plane thinking, well, this is what I'm going to have to do? Was it ever a bit of desperation as in I'm going to have to get a job in a fucking clothes shop or something?
To be honest, no. Like, and maybe that's arrogant, but I think without that mindset, you give up. So I think I was just looking for the next challenge for me to not be in the 9 to 5 grind. Like I refuse to do that.
Mm,
Um, so I think it might be delusional, Tom. Like that, a fact that I don't ever think it's over. But like I think if you do, then it is over.
yeah.
So, and when I say over, I don't mean like I'm going to have my name in lights, but like I just want to do things my way and I want to do it differently. And I don't want to be in that what I see as a trap. That's just my
Mm,
opinion. Some people are very
mm.
happy in it, but like I refuse to be in that. So my story has always been what next.
So what story did you tell yourself though? Did you have any idea? Like you're on the plane and you're
Um,
coming home and you've got 100 grand left. You obviously got to earn an income.
yeah, no, I think I just wanted to crack into the Australian industry, and it didn't happen. But I think that's what kept me going. I was
Oh,
like,
so you
well,
wanted to come back and get in the acting industry in
Yeah,
Australia.
America failed. I'll come back and get into Australia. But while I'm waiting, I'll just share this build that I'm doing. And then that just became bigger than me, which wasn't hard to do because I was a F grade celebrity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, a lot smaller than I was. Um, so then you start because I remember when it started to take off, and um, because I remember I was, they people would call me from finance, and you'd had 5 or 6 people going, yeah, I sent Rhys a note, 1 week ago, 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, and I could see it was gathering momentum. I paid a deposit, and I was going, oh shit, this is going really fast, but I'm also going, fuck, how's he going to handle this? Like, did it
Yeah,
get out of hand at all?
yeah, oh, mate, absolutely. And even to this day, I'm like, I don't know how we survived those early days. I think I had 40 clients on our books, and it was just me, and I'm not a
And
builder. I couldn't even.
fuck all too. You're not
Yeah, but
designing them.
no, but you hear good. I think a podcast I've listened to, and that's kind of the secret. You've got to jump in before you're ready, and you've got to take a risk, but then you've got to put the processes in place as you learn them. You know what I mean? So I didn't understand the recipe, but I had to acknowledge what needed to be there and then put it in place. And part of that was our business partners, and they're very structured and very, like by the book. I'm not, but we need all of that. So, yes, I almost went under. Yes, I almost cost our family our home multiple times, but I think I had this inherent knowing that this company was going to be something pretty solid, and I don't think we're there yet, but I do think timing of the industry, building industry is struggling. I do think what we're offering is a really valid way to build, and I think houses traditionally were seen as a cheap and nasty option if you didn't have any money.
Mm,
I want to make a shed house a beautiful and celebrated architectural build in metro, in coastal, in affluent suburbs like New Zealand do with their barns, like England do with their barns. And the shed house is Australia's version of that. So let's celebrate our oldest architectural style since white man's been here and make it cool. Let's change and even the name of this company. It's like it's a
mm,
negative connotation because you think cheap and nasty. Let's change the narrative. That's our challenge. Like, can we
mm,
change what shed means, like the word barn? Barn is celebrated. So this should
yeah,
be too.
definitely.
Mm,
I know you got to go.
I do.
I'll
It's
just
been fun.
hang around a bit more. I was going to talk about why you sold piece of the company, but that's pretty obvious, I think, because you're shit.
Mate, I was going under.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, I don't think that was the case. I think it's a smart move. I think it's one of the best moves you've probably done, and you probably learned from the past that you need help and you need
Yeah.
better people and
Yep.
you need a
Let
bit
people
more
in.
capital, and you just focus on the stuff you're good at, and that's front of the
Well, that's
camera,
it.
tell a
Yeah.
story.
And one of my biggest lessons is like they don't have to get it like I get it. They get it in their own way, and that's okay. Like I think with Tavita with a fashion label, like, oh, I can't let anyone in. They don't get it. They don't get this beautiful, soulful. Who gives a shit, Reese? Get over yourself. Like you need people to fill gaps. They get it in their own way, which is just as powerful as me in terms of business partners now, and we all bring incredibly unique things to the table. But I think a lot of creatives say that, like they struggle to let people in, and that's what ends up killing their offering.
Okay, go. Two quick questions.
Mm-hmm.
If you could do anything today, what would you be doing?
Oh, fuck. I'd be
Anything.
surfing.
It doesn't matter.
I'd be surfing in the Mentawai Islands in Indonesia. Like it's my happy place. So I'd be out there.
What about to
And
earn an income?
oh, sorry.
No, no, that's good. I like that. But
Yeah,
what about?
yeah, I'd be making documentaries. I just love storytelling.
Yeah,
I do it with Shed House. I do it with Tavita. I just love telling stories. I don't know why. Love it.
yeah. No, I love your stories too. And just picture this. This is 18-year-old Rhys sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you tell him? You can
Oh,
go.
just believe.
You're 40 odd years old. You've had this crazy life, great experiences. What do you go back and tell him that's going to help him?
Have fun. Don't beat yourself up. Like you deserve to do what you want if it doesn't affect or hurt anyone. I think that's a big one. I don't know why
Mm,
I didn't do that in life. I think I didn't allow myself to fully experience joy and not feel guilty about it. I don't know why, but that's number one. And the fourth or the second one would be like believe in your unique capabilities. It doesn't have to look like the guy across the road or you do it your way. Believe in that. That's powerful.
mm, love it. Thank you, bro.
That was good. Thanks for having me, mate. And
Thank you,
well
mate.
done with this. I'm proud and I'm admiring from afar.
We'll do an episode too.
Speak to you in 10 years, mate. Thanks for the call.
See you, mate. Bye.
See you, mate. Bye.